Would you like to learn how to vlog with a GoPro? Well, you should probably watch the video because I'm going to squash in a lot of information. If you're interested in vlogging with a GoPro, you're probably doing it because they're nice and small. If you use one of these, you're not lugging around the great big DSLR. That does come with some of its own drawbacks though. The main drawback is the fixed lens. These are, after all, action cameras. You cannot change out a lens on an action camera. An action camera's lens is going to have a fixed focal length, which is going to mean that everything is in focus. They are also wide angle. You've probably seen videos of GoPros, they have the fisheye lens look. Now the great thing is that all of the firmware over the past few years has been updated on the GoPros, so you can actually set it to linear field of view mode. So if you are put off by the fisheye lens look, you can choose to use linear field of view mode on the most recent GoPro cameras. So let's talk a little bit about 4 models of GoPro camera that have come out over the past few years, and we'll try to give you some idea about which is the best one for you for vlogging. So the last 2 generations of GoPros, you've basically got the Hero 4s and the Hero 5 and 6. Now they all basically look the same, right? So this is the Hero 5, the Hero 6 looks exactly the same, and this is the Hero 4 Silver, and the Hero 4 Black looks exactly the same. So what are the differences? The main difference between the Hero 4 Black and Silver are the video recording modes and the LCD screen. This is the Hero 4 Silver. It has the LCD screen on the back. When you buy the Hero 4 Silver or Black, the camera actually pops out of the protective case, as was the case with all of this generation of GoPros plus the older generation of GoPros. They all have a USB-B for charging, and they take a micro SD in the side. They all do time-lapse and night-lapse photo modes. Neither one has image stabilization, so if you're looking for image stabilization, you'll probably want to get a small gimbal for these ones. The Hero 4 Silver will do 1080p at 60 frames per second, 2.7K at 30 frames per second, and 4K at a useless 15 frames per second. So if you've got a Hero 4 Silver, which is what this one is, you're not going to use this for 4K because it looks rubbish for 4K, 15 frames per second. Basically unusable. On the other hand, the Hero 4 Black will do 4K at 30 frames per second, 2.7K at 60 frames per second, and 1080p at 120 frames per second. So no doubtedly the Hero 4 Black is better than the Silver. Downside is though you don't have the screen on the back of the camera. But let's talk about that for a second. The screen on the back of the camera. Why do you really want or really need a screen on the back of the camera? Well, in addition to actually being able to point the camera, and aim wherever you want to aim and actually see what it's going to look like, the reason that you really want the screen on the back is so that you can record something, play it back, look at it, see whether it looks alright to you, and then delete it if you don't like it. With the Hero 4 Black, you don't have that option. It's just not an option. So let's talk a little bit about the back doors on these things too, because there are 3 types of back doors. There's the skeleton back door. This will give you the best audio performance with the onboard microphone. There's I call it the slimline back door. It's like a very slim kind of membrane of plastic there. This is the one that you'd mainly use for underwater. And then the heavy duty back door, which is just solid plastic. So if you use the heavy duty back door and you're just using the onboard microphone, you're not going to get very good audio at all. Which kind of leads me on to audio as well. So the Hero 4 Silver and Black actually have quite good microphones. I say quite good because they're certainly better than the Hero 5 and Hero 6 microphones. And they use these little USB, so you get a little USB adapter like this. You plug it into the side, and then you just put your microphone on top. Or if you don't want to use one of those adapters, you can use one of these adapter cables. So that is a USB to a 3.5mm mini jack. You can also buy cages as well. So instead of using the stock standard plastic cage, you can buy an aftermarket cage which has a hot shoe mount, so you can put your microphone on there. So the Hero 4 Silver and Black, while being older and while being not as modern in terms of video recording modes as the newer GoPros, they are actually better in terms of audio. Both the audio quality of the microphones and the ability to add a microphone later on. But that's a whole another kettle of fish with this little bastard. Okay, let's talk about the Hero 5 Black and Hero 6 Black. They're actually almost the same camera. I mean, in fact, they really are the same camera. So when you buy a Hero 5 or a Hero 6, it comes in a little plastic cage like this, which pops out. The lens on the front of mine is scratched up around the edges because it is an action camera after all. Now earlier I was talking about the microphone capabilities of the Hero 4 as silver and black. So let's talk about the microphone dilemma problem with the Hero 5 and Hero 6. So the Hero 5 and Hero 6, they have a little door on the side here that you can pop off. I'm not going to take it off right now, but it's there. You can pop that off and you can charge with the USB-C cable, and you can plug in a USB, you can plug, that's how you plug in your microphone too, which is a big problem. Let me tell you why it's a big problem. It doesn't use the same USB Mini B as what we had here for the Hero 4 Silver and Black. And I think that GoPro's mission here, I think that their intention behind this product is for you to use it as an action camera and only as an action camera, because the accessory that they sell you to put a microphone on this thing is this dreadful monstrosity here. It hangs off of the side of your camera. I've already done a video about this earlier on, so you can click the little I button in the corner of the video if you want to see that video. There's still really no way around this. If you want to use a microphone on a Hero 5 or 6, you have to buy that awful box thing. That is a huge turn off to using the Hero 5 or 6 as a vlogging camera. And in addition to that, the onboard audio of the Hero 5 or 6 is not as good as the onboard audio of the Hero 4 or 5. On the other hand, the video quality is better. So the Hero 5 Black will record 4K at 30 frames per second, 2.7K at 60 frames per second, and 1080p at 120 frames per second. And it's got image stabilization. The Hero 6 also has image stabilization, and it will do 4K at 60 frames per second, 2.7K at 120 frames per second, and 1080p at 240 frames per second. Now in case you're wondering, in case you don't actually know, the reason why you want a high number of frames per second is for slow motion purposes. If you're using the action camera as GoPro wants you to use it, as an action camera, then you might capture a video of somebody doing something really quick and you want to slow it down. That's the main purpose behind using a high frame rate. So, we've looked at the Hero 5 and 6. We've looked at the Hero 4 Silver and Black. What kind of conclusion can we come up with? I mean, if you want to vlog for the GoPro, which one do you go for? Another thing to consider with these guys, and this really applies to both of them, is the small sensor size in these GoPro cameras. What does that mean? That means that you're not going to get a nice, beautiful looking indoor incandescent lighting type of image as what you're seeing here, because I'm not filming this on a GoPro. This is being filmed with a Canon EOS M6 with a prime lens. That's a nice lens. These things have small sensors. What that means is that you're going to get a grainy looking video in low light situations. So it's going to look like this. Here's the GoPro Hero 4 Silver using the onboard audio in the same lighting conditions that I've been shooting the rest of this video. It probably looks more grainy. And here's the Hero 5 Black under the same lighting conditions at the same time that I'm filming the rest of this video. It probably looks grainy. Probably doesn't sound very good either. Yeah, you can see now why I've been harping on about the microphones, right? Okay, we've already talked about the microphone problems. Basically with this one you can't really use a microphone, not really. This one you can, it's quite good like that. But the video recording modes on this one are a little bit older. Here's what I think. What I think, and I feel quite strongly about this, is that your ability to tell a story is more important than higher resolution video recording modes. Audiences aren't really going to mind if you stick with 1080p over 4K. Story is king. If I could only have one camera for the rest of my life to make every video that I ever wanted to ever make ever again, and I could never change to another camera, it would probably be this one, the Hero 4 Silver. It's got that good microphone capability, it'll do a good 1080p, and it looks pretty good when you put it in a gimbal. So we need to talk a little bit about the image stabilization too. So this one doesn't have image stabilization, but the Hero 5 and 6 do have image stabilization. But to be honest, the image stabilization, the 5, it's rubbish. The 6 is better, but neither of them are perfect. And here's the thing about image stabilization. You know, with digital image stabilization, you get this kind of warping effect where the background twists and warps and changes shape, because you know the processor inside the camera is literally adjusting the image to make it stable. A far better option, a far better solution is to actually take your camera and actually stabilize it. So rather than having it wobbling around, you've actually got it in a gimbal, which is going to keep it smooth. And if you put a small GoPro in a small gimbal, it's not nearly as bad of a thing to carry around as a bigger camera with a big gimbal. So if I had to choose, again, the Hero 4 Silver wins out for me, using it with a gimbal, using it with a good microphone. But this is still a good camera too. But the Hero 5 and 6, to be honest, I would use it mainly for action camera purposes, like what it is supposed to be designed for as an action camera. But this is better for vlogging. Hope you learned something, hope this video was useful, and if you've been chewing the fat over getting a GoPro for vlogging and you weren't sure, I hope this kind of fills in some of the blanks for you. Thanks for sticking it out to the end of the video. If you like this video, have a look at the playlist and subscribe to see more videos like the one you just saw. Bye bye!